Hello, studious minds, and welcome back to Pagan Philosophy, the channel where we strive to further our understanding of what it truly means to love knowledge. How did pagan philosophy end? What happened to the philosophical theology of Proclus, or the numerical gods of Pythagoras? We'll start at the beginning, back in ancient Greek Ionia to be precise. In the 7th century BC, a man named Thales was born in the Greek city of Miletus. Thales studied mathematics and the natural sciences. He wondered what the essential material substance of the cosmos was. He claimed it was water, and thus, according to Aristotle, Western philosophy was born. Philosophy means love of wisdom, by the way, and we'll see this can be interpreted in many different ways. Following Thales, several other philosophers would seek to better understand the cosmos. Those philosophers of the Ionian school usually posited physical things as the origin of the cosmos, like water or air, until Pythagoras. Pythagoras was the first to suggest an immaterial substance, numbers. Pythagoras felt that numbers were divine and worshipped them alongside the traditional gods. Greek pagan philosophy concerned itself with truth, and as the gods were the governors of the cosmos, they must play an important role. In fact, truth itself was a god, the goddess Aletheia. To pagan minds, truth was worthy of worship, and so were many other concepts like beauty, harmony, and justice. Philosophy became associated with divinity, and was one of many means to interact with the gods. Studies like mathematics, astronomy, theology, and harmonics combined with the more abstract form of philosophy that we understand today to become the Greek pagan philosophy of the ancient world. Religious beliefs and philosophy became one. It was also through Pythagoreanism that Orphic ideas regarding the salvation and transmigration of souls would find their way into pagan philosophy. With time, other individuals would take up the torch and seek knowledge. That is, seek union with divine truth. Later on, during the classical period, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle would revolutionize this so-called philosophy and send it so far into the academic mainstream of the time that philosophy became interchangeable with education. Throughout the following century, some of the most significant pagan philosophical systems were expanded on, including Platonism, Aristotelianism, Neo-Pythagoreanism, and Stoicism. And it's worth saying that all these schools would borrow from each other. But further in the west, a steadily growing community would eventually conquer the Greek cities and most of the known world. Once Rome came along, the slowly approaching empire would unite the west with the east, which meant that Greeks would come into contact with Eastern ideas from Egypt, Phoenicia, and yes, Israel. It was here in Israel that a Judean named Jesus began spreading an especially pious philosophical system. This, along with the ideas of his followers, would become something called Christianity. Surprisingly, the system was more readily accepted in the Gentile or non-Jewish world, even though it seems to originally have been a reformation of Jewish religion. But because it was originally meant for Jews, it unsurprisingly came with a whole lot of monotheistic urges. Although this shouldn't be a problem, right? After all, Platonism and Neo-Pythagoreanism ultimately promoted monotheism too. If only it were that simple. Christianity rapidly gained a unique identity that sought to set itself apart from all others. In other words, it wasn't completely accepted unless competing religious ideas were rejected. Interestingly, a Neo-Pythagorean man named Apollonius of Tyana would do something similar. He traveled the pagan world and sought to revolutionize pagan religion. He tried to concern the pagans less with sacrifices and more with the abstract world of knowledge. But while Apollonius promoted one god overall, like many other pagan philosophers, he understood this god to be ultimately transcendent. So those deities we could know were the principles who emanated from this supreme god. Moving forward, interesting characters like Plotinus would help shape the pagan way philosophers of the era sought knowledge for the remainder of the Roman imperial reign. Enter Constantine. As the modern understanding of the way Christianization goes, a culture does not Christianize unless its leader Christianizes. And that's exactly what Constantine did. With few exceptions, all of Constantine's potential successors were Christians. And it wouldn't be long until these Christian rulers felt that they had to do something about the diversity of religious ideas in the empire. Many Christians adopted elements of the pagan philosophies, but chose to reject the polytheism in favor of identifying the God of the Bible with the supreme God. Pagans felt they could deify abstract truths such as harmony and order, and did so, well, religiously. Christian philosophers had to attribute any and all divinity to Jesus and the Trinity, with no exceptions. As a result, Christian emperors like Theodosius and Justinian aggressively began to persecute those who approached philosophy with a non-Christian mentality. Riots targeting pagan shrines, ceremonies, and even people became mainstream. Figures like Heracles and Hypatia were persecuted in Alexandria, while Olympiodorus and Simplicius of Cilicia were persecuted in Athens. Over a century after the sack of Rome, the Emperor Justinian would close all funding to the Platonic Academy in Athens and forbid the traditionally pagan way of doing philosophy. Elements of Platonic philosophy would be absorbed by Christian thinkers, but were significantly modified to accommodate their biblical perspective. And with that, the pagan tradition of philosophy came to an end, along with any other outward expressions of pagan religious devotion. Throughout the following centuries, Christianity would continue to spread, converting entire populations of people. Paganism was now a distant, foreign, and strange way of seeing the divine. Every now and then, a culturally odd figure like Gemistus Plethon would completely convert to the pagan mentality, but it wasn't until the Renaissance that the old gods would once again experience mainstream appreciation. Art, literature, and philosophy would all be influenced by the religious ideas of the ancient pagan world. Fun fact, did you know that Europe was originally called Christendom by many, but was renamed in honor of Europa, the Phoenician princess who so fervently caught the eye of the one once held in the highest regard, the god of gods, the ruler of Olympus, the mighty Zeus. If you like this video and want to learn more about pagan philosophy, feel free to check out the other episodes on our channel and subscribe for more pagan ideas. But until next time, friends, stay studious.